This is my dream.
What's it like to be where you are now?
Honestly, sometimes when I wake up, I still feel like it's not real. Like, it's still surreal to me. So, like, when I was younger, if I could have drawn a picture of the vision that I had in my head of the life that I wanted for myself, this would have been it. This would have been exactly what I drew. And when I had met my husband, he asked me what my dream home was. And I said, a cabin, a wraparound porch, flat acreage. And I said minimally 5 to 10 acres max. And we got much more than that. So when I found this place, it was just, I went home and cried about it. And I had showed it several times. And I kept going home after it was like torture showing this place, because I'd go home and I'd be like, I want it so bad. And it was just the elements that it had, like the creek and everything, and the spring fed water, and just everything that this place had to offer was exactly what I wanted. So yeah, it still seems surreal, because I wake up and I'm like, there's no way I did this. There is absolutely no way I did this. So yeah, it's still surreal for sure.
So why did you think that it would be hard to be where you are today?
I think we're conditioned to think it's hard. I think that when you're younger, we're conditioned to believe things are harder than they are. So when you start to take action and you realize, okay, well, that wasn't so bad, and you kind of get through the chaos of the building blocks, you realize that, you build character and confidence, and that's what really gets you over the hurdles, and prayer. We're not really conditioned as children to pray. And so I feel like once you spiritually grow, I think your dreams kind of fall into place after that.
So I guess let's talk about young you.
Young
what
me.
What was life?
Life was interesting. So as an adult, looking back at young life, I definitely have some memories that are ones that are good and cherishable, and there's others that are gruesome and hard, Young me that one's interesting. So I was actually not born Shannon. I was born Alexis Nicole Kramer. That was my name. And me and my younger brother were put up for adoption when we were little, and put in foster care system. We went through several different homes, and then we were then adopted by a family that had just moved to Tennessee from North Carolina. And so we ended up being raised right there in Halls. We raised goats. My parents didn't work. They raised kids. I know my mother had stayed home, and my father did a lot of work on like lawnmowers, and did a lot of trading and gun shows and things like that. So I wouldn't call us wealthy. We were very modest, and but me and my siblings, there were 6 of us. There were 6 of us adopted. So we would stay outside most days and play, and we had a secondary home in North Carolina. So summers outside of school we spent in North Carolina in Statesville, and we just ran around outside and had fun and got creative and let our imaginations kind of roll. And that's pretty much what childhood was like on the positive end of things, I think.
And what was life like before you were adopted?
Well, what life was like before I was adopted. And a lot of people would argue this, but this is my truth, I think. So when you go through trauma, it was very traumatic. And when you go through trauma as a young child, you tend to remember things a lot younger than your average child. Like you can ask, one of my children, they're going to start remembering things, if they were older, they'd remember things probably 5 and up. For me, I can remember things as young as 2. And my father, he was, and this is just the truth, and I don't, hold any grudges or judge anybody for their character or their faults. And my dad was a drug dealer, and my mother, she was heavily into prostitution and had become victim to addiction. And my dad was a victim to addiction as well. And they just made some really bad decisions. And there was a previous child before me and my brother, actually two we know of now, but they just never could get it together, and we were given up for adoption and went in the foster care system. The foster care system, I can remember those days too, and that was brutal. There's days, there's things that I remember that were pretty, traumatic. And the reason that I had gotten into foster care was due to a, assault that had happened with me. My brother wasn't assaulted, but I was too young to testify in court, but there were other children that could testify, and that's kind of how I got thrown in the system and caught and that kind of thing. So once, all that transpired, they put you kind of in a temporary space in Knox County. That's where I ended up. And I remember eating the same food every day, like small things. I would remember, like, they would give you oatmeal in a sippy cup with a ton of sugar, and that's what you had. That was meal. That was your breakfast and sometimes your dinner. And then whatever family would come in and foster you for a while received payment, obviously. So that's kind of where I was before adoption. And then when I was adopted, anything's better than where I was, I thought. And then there were just a lot of dark things that happened in that household that, I tried to get help with and stuff like that. But to protect my other siblings, I stayed silent for a long time, just to protect them and not make them keep going through the vicious cycle. So there were some gruesome parts of being adopted by the family that I was adopted by. And again, I don't, judge anybody. I'm not allowed to do that. That's what the Lord says. And I've learned to forgive everybody. And I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now.
And that was the family that raised you.
Yes, the family that raised me. There were 6 of us, and there was 3 of us out of the 6 that experienced abuse. And that's the truth, and 2 of them just didn't overcome it the way that I did. And I still pray for them, but I couldn't save them all, And so, and I ask God to forgive me too, because sometimes I feel like that was my responsibility to help them, come up and figure things out, but I couldn't. And so now I'm a mom, and I understand things in a whole different perspective and a whole different light than I did at that age,
Are you able to talk about any of those abuses? Yeah. Do you want to talk about any of those?
I don't mind to talk about it. I think that my testimony can help a lot of women. But I was sexually assaulted for years by my foster dad. And I've never said that really publicly. Several people know. But look, I carried shame and like this filth for a really long time. Like it was partially my fault. There was, but as a mom looking at my child at the same age that those things were happening to me, I understand that there is no possible way that I could have processed or understood what was going on. But once I got into church, I understood forgiveness, and that weight and that shame and that filth just like peeled off of me. And that's when I started realizing that I could conquer so much more. Like, I wasn't going to be the things I was told I was. And, and I did. I hid it for a long time. And so a lot of people, and I fought through that's not true. I fought through well, you're lying, or I fought through well, you were in a bad traumatic situation and you're just going to have flashbacks of things that didn't pertain to us because of where you came from. So that was used against me a lot, even though I was completely alert and aware of what was happening. And I truly didn't understand the severity of it until I hit probably my mid-20s. And that was rough because I was becoming a new mother. And so developing those motherly instincts was very hard because those were not really something I was taught. So then understanding protection and what is right, what is wrong, and that kind of thing, that was hard for me at first. It really was. Without anger, I became comfortably talking about it probably when I would say about 26, 27 is when I got comfortable. And I think that motherhood really softens you, and it starts to develop something else in a woman that's more graceful. And I think that's when I started being comfortable talking about it. Before that, I didn't care to talk about it, but it was more, it was built up anger. Like it was not, there was nothing graceful about the conversation. It was just very hateful. So it did take me a while. Yeah.
I guess what advice would you have for someone who is either A, going through something like that, mm-hmm. or has been through something like that hasn't had the ability, courage, whatever it is, to start talking?
Many women go through that, and sometimes you never know what someone's going through. And I try to teach my kids that it could be a family sitting next to you on a pew, and you never know. And I've seen it, and I've seen things happen like that, directly under our noses. The advice that I could give any woman is you are so much better than how you feel right now. Okay. And so when we start to dive into God and what He says your worth is, and the example He sets for us biblically, you will start to shed that skin. And if you start surrounding yourself with overcomers, you'll become one too. And so I would definitely suggest getting around people who can build your strength up to help you conquer that. So it's just like that saying, who you surround yourself with is who you become, right? And so getting your sisters together and helping you through that is what's going to give you that thick skin to grow through that. And if you're currently going through it, there is no shame. There is no shame in telling. Even it will feel like it probably in the moment, but that will go away, because once it's off your tongue, once it's off your chest, and there is somebody in your corner to help you and support you through it, it's a much easier process. But I do believe in saying something, and I wish I would have been more verbal about it when I was younger. I do.
Someone who's went through what you did, was there any apprehension about having kids or being a mother?
Yes. I did not want kids because I had a fear of having kids. One, I felt like I had raised kids my whole life. That's how I felt, because I was the middle sibling and I was a lot bigger, and I wouldn't say more intelligent is the word, but I was better at guiding them, I guess. But no, I did not want kids. I was scared to have kids. And so once I had my first baby, I'll be honest, I had to have some help, because those instincts were not immediate. It was hard. It was really hard, but that is totally normal. And you can become a good mother, through help. And I had to do that for myself. And it did take time, but, I was not ashamed in asking for it either. So just be cautious when you go through trauma like that and becoming a mother. Just make sure that you have, one, a good spousal support system, and two, that you, if you don't have that, that you're seeking guidance from other support groups or you know, community women that may be a good mentor for you through something like that. Yeah.
What role has God, church, whatever it is, had in everything?
Whew, that's a good one. God has had the main role. He was the main role. God, I think, stands so closely with children, especially. And in my case, I just always felt like God was present with me, even through those hardships. Like, I felt presence always, but didn't really know how the idea of God worked, but I always felt that presence. And so once I understood how to pray and how to open my mind and how to open my heart and really let God in there, he just becomes like your best friend, you know? And so God has showed me repeatedly that leaning on him, everything is possible. And I know that sounds cliche, we see it everywhere, but I genuinely mean that once your spirit opens up and you let him flood you with that, you don't have the capability of judgment. You don't have the capability of being resentful. You almost feel pity, right, for the ones who have wronged you and stuff like that. And so God has repeatedly showed me, like, if I prayed for something like this farm, for instance, like, this has been in my mind since I was little, and then seeing him hand that to me is like showing me I've overcome something he wanted me to overcome. And it's like, this is the next step, right? And so there's this thing he's guiding me through, and while it's been unclear this entire time, it's starting to just come together in the picture it's supposed to, you know, prevail. And so there's a reason he led me here. There's a reason this was always on my heart. And so I think that God has just been the main character in the story. He's taught me a lot. Like, I feel so blessed and wise because of God constantly showing up for me, even when I didn't feel like I deserved it.
What are the positive, maybe, attributes or whatever you've been able to gain over all of the
chaos and negative things? Yeah. So one positive is forgiveness. Okay, but real forgiveness. It's almost comparable to someone murdering somebody else or something crazy like that, and just having forgiveness for something so morbid and horrendous. That is beautiful, and that is very, very hard to do. It truly is. But if you allow God, forgiveness truly can come about, and that's a good feeling. And teaching that, helping people understand what forgiveness really looks like and how it benefits you more than it does them. It truly does. And how that works. Another positive, I would say, you know, it wasn't all negative, you know, like I learned a lot of skills and things through that, but through the life that I had, I'm very skilled in a lot of areas that normal people my age just are not. I have learned to, if I don't know it, learn it, and keeping that mentality. Nothing's too hard for me, you know, like I keep that mentality. If I could get through that, I can get through anything. Throw it at me, you know. Patience. It's taught me a lot of patience. And it's taught me to continue to grow spiritually and like a craving for it. And more on the knowledge aspect of things, but the teachings, because I feel like through my testimony, I am meant to help a lot of other people, but how would I ever be able to do that if I never went through the things I went through? So I try to look at it in that aspect too. So you even biblically, you see so many stories in the Bible. God didn't choose the people with perfect lives to do things. He chose the ones with the messy backgrounds, the messy lives, and constantly gave them chance after chance, and help them become leaders. And so that's what I want to do, is really step into my leadership role for my community, and just wherever God leads me. Yeah.
I guess talk a little bit about your brother.
Yes. So I have a very close relationship with my brother, and Lord knows I love him. He's still trying to overcome a lot. He was dealt a pretty dirty hand, through all this, and he is now overcoming. So with my brother, I was 18 and he was 16 when our chapter together really took a turn. I was 18 and he was 16, and I ended up going to court to get temporary custody over some tragic things that had happened in our foster home. And so I took him on until he became of age, and he ran a pretty rough rodeo there for a while, and he got in all kinds of trouble. He's so, God love him, but through that did teach me patience. He is what taught me patience. But I took custody of him, and then when he went down kind of a bad path and he had become an addict, I actually used my line of work, turning a lot of our rental homes. I turned several into sober living homes, and he was able to go through a program recently and graduated, and he has like 8 months clean now, which is huge. So I would go visit him, when he was homeless, and give him clothes and food and things like that. And watching him thrive right now, he's living out at the lake. I've got him out there, and he works for my husband currently, and he's just kind of starting life now. So watching that has been incredible. And then God has also blessed me one morning with a sister I didn't know about. So I did ancestry DNA, because naturally adopted kids are just curious. They want to know where they come from, who they look like, where they fit in, who has similarities to them. It's just natural curiosity. And so I did an ancestry DNA, and then I found out I had a sister who lives in Colorado, and she was adopted by fantastic people. And so this past summer in June, I rented a Airbnb out here on the lake, and me and her got to meet for the first time. And I brought my brother and my kids and husband and all the other biological women in the family, and we got to all connect and meet each other. And there was so many similarities. They're all in real estate and property management. So I thought that was pretty funny. And just our certain mannerisms were just similar. So it was really cool. So God blessed me with a sister out of the blue. And it's funny too, because I've said, in the past, I said, I wish that I had an older sister. And then just one day I woke up and God gave me an older sister. And then I do have a half sister too, by my mother, and her name's Erica, and she lives in St. Louis. And we have a very diverse cultural family. So her family is Italian, and my family's biological family is very Italian, German, very German. I did ancestry, and it says I was 43% German, so that's pretty interesting. So it explains a lot. So it was cool to meet everybody, and my brother is on a healing journey now, so everything seems to be on like the happy ending chapter. So I'm really excited to see where things go, and how we all, grow and have a better relationship together.